For decades, the message we all heard was super simple: fear fat and eat lots of carbs. But just recently, the official US dietary guidelines did a complete 180, pretty much flipping everything we thought we knew on its head. So today, we're going to unpack this huge shift, not just the new science, but the really explosive story behind why this change might have taken so long to happen.
So let's just get right into it. The government has radically updated its advice on what we should eat. And yeah, on the surface, it's all about our health. But, and this is a big but, some experts are asking a really sharp question. If the science has been pointing this way for years, what was the holdup? Okay, let's dive into this. So, first things first, we need to break down what's actually different. Let's look at the official story, the new guidelines, the science that's supposedly behind them, and why everyone's calling this a major leap forward for American health. And wow, the shift in advice it's huge. For generations, we were all taught that dietary fat was the number one enemy, right? Which led to that whole boom in low-fat, high-sugar everything. While the new science completely flips that on its head, saying, hey, healthy fats are actually crucial. The focus is now off of all those processed grains and instead on whole foods and getting enough protein. It's a massive break from the past. And we're talking about some pretty significant changes here. The Department of Health and Human Services is now pushing for a diet that's loaded with whole foods, lean protein, fruits, and veggies. And get this, they've boosted the recommended protein for kids by up to 100% and dropped that old rule about only having low-fat dairy. It's a signal that fat isn't the villain we were told it was. This is the official, science-backed update. Okay, so if the science is so clear, it kind of leads to a pretty uncomfortable question, doesn't it? Why is this all happening just now? This is where the story pivots. We're moving away from public health and into a world of power, money, and a battle for influence that's been going on behind the scenes for decades. And here's where it gets really interesting. Health and fitness expert Jillian Michaels is out there arguing that this is not new information at all. Her whole point is that tons of health professionals have known this for a very long time, and that the real science was being sidelined by something way more powerful. So here's her core accusation. Michaels claims that for decades, our dietary guidelines weren't really designed for our health. She says they were captured by massive agricultural lobbies. These groups, she argues, had a huge financial stake in keeping cheap, government-backed grains and soy right at the bottom of the food pyramid. And why does this matter so much? Because the food pyramid was never just some poster in a school nurse's office. No, this thing is a powerful policy document. It directs how hundreds of billions of our tax dollars get spent every single year. I mean, just think about where that money goes. It basically dictates the food available through huge programs like SNAP and WIC, which millions of families depend on. It decides what our kids eat for lunch in public schools, and it even sets the menu for our troops. The stakes here are absolutely enormous. So that leads to the obvious next question, right? Let's follow the money. According to Michaels, who was actually cashing in on that old, green-heavy, fat-fearing advice that we all lived with for so long. And the number she throws out there, it's just staggering. Michaels estimates that over the last 30 years, $600 billion have been funneled into a food system built on those old, outdated guidelines. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. And who got all that cash? Well, in her view, it's pretty simple. Big food and big agriculture. She argues this taxpayer money created a system that basically subsidized the production of what she just calls ultra-processed garbage, which made those foods incredibly cheap and, frankly, unavoidable for a lot of people. So what are we even talking about here? Ultra-processed foods. They're not just processed. They're like industrial creations. Think of it this way. They're packed with calories but have been totally stripped of nutrients and fiber. And what's worse, a lot of research suggests they can mess up our bodies and promote the kind of chronic inflammation that's linked to all sorts of modern diseases. And yeah, we're talking about the stuff that's in pretty much everyone's pantry or freezer. The frozen waffles, the bags of chips, the sodas, all those pre-packaged snacks that fill up supermarket aisles and lunchboxes. According to Michaels, these are the exact products the old system made cheap and everywhere. But wait, it doesn't even stop there. She connects the dots to another huge industry, Big Pharma. Her claim is that a system that helps make people sick also creates this massive, incredibly profitable market for drugs that are designed to treat all those diet-related illnesses. It's a cycle where she argues some industries actually profit from us being unwell.
Okay, so if the argument is that the whole system is broken, what do we do about it? Let's get into what Michaels says is the path forward. It's a really powerful mix of taking charge ourselves and demanding some major changes from the top. She really boils it down to a two-part solution. It starts with us, with each of us taking personal agency over what we eat. But, and this is key, it absolutely does not end there. It also means we have to demand that our government starts putting our health above corporate profits. First, on the personal side of things, her advice is actually super simple, and I love this. She calls taking back your health the ultimate rebellion, and her rule of thumb is great. Just eat real food. As she puts it, if it grew out of the mother, you are in good shape. Now, the second part. This is where it gets bigger than just us. It's a call to action, to fight back against a system that she claims is literally rigged against us. This means we have to demand that our government and our elected officials actually represent our interests, not the interests of lobbyists. So, what does that government help actually look like in the real world? Well, it means taking those billions in subsidies away from the crops used for processed foods and putting that money toward making fresh, healthy food more affordable and easier to get for everybody. And yeah, it also means going after high healthcare costs by tackling drug prices. And all of this, it really brings us to one final huge question. After decades of advice that might have been twisted by industry, and now this new, welcome shift back to science, we just have to ask ourselves, is our food system really designed to keep us healthy, or is it designed for profit? The answer to that question really changes everything.